Thank you, Evie. Good morning, everyone. How is everybody today?
Awake and ready.
Yay. It's our joy to be here with all of you. I'm going to start with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. Let's see. And this is number 111. Demand to find God at any time, anywhere. Teach me, O Father, to find Thee in the cave of my heart, that I may walk with Thee everywhere. Teach me to hear Thee in silence, that I may hear Thy voice beneath outer noises. Teach me to find Thee in inner peace, that I may be with Thee calmly in the midst of outer tumult. Hubbub or silence, tumult or peace, I care not, so long as Thou wilt teach me to find Thee anywhere at any time. A young boy was shopping with his mom and he went to see Santa, and Santa asked him what he wanted for Christmas. Well, a little bit later on in the day, they went to another store, and again he saw Santa, and again Santa asked the little boy what he wanted for Christmas. And the little boy just shook his head, and he replied to Santa, he said, you really ought to write these things down. Our topics this morning are practicality and Christmas. And we do have another beautiful topic, living in the presence of God. A beautiful topic and reminder, especially this time of year, as all of our events and activities tend to go up to another notch and we find ourselves extra busily engaged. Yogananda, in the autobiography of a yogi, his great spiritual classic, he defined divine vision as center everywhere, circumference nowhere, meaning that God is present in every single thing, in everyone, in every atom, in you and me. Swami Kriyananda, who was a direct disciple of Yogananda, founder of Ananda, he would talk about this comment that Yogananda would often make. Swami Kriyananda would say, we have to start somewhere. We can't just say, oh, ho-hum, or ho-ho this year maybe. God is everywhere. God is where? We need to start somewhere. And where do we start? Inside of us, in our own center. And then from that place, we begin to feel God's presence everywhere. It doesn't mean that we become self-centered and that it's all about us, but it's about taking that experience and reaching for it, feeling for it in everything, in everyone, in every atom, in you and me. And it's a two-step process, isn't it? And that's what our reading this morning was reminding us. That first we have to go inside. Be still and know. That's where we know. That's where we know, as Lorna was saying earlier today in the Advent service, that's where we'll know that joy. That's what we're talking about this week. But then it's essential. The reading went on and talked about service. And so important that we take that next step. Anytime when we read about the lives of saints, they're always serving others, aren't they? No matter what trials, no matter what they're going through. In the autobiography of a yogi, again, there's a whole chapter dedicated to Therese Newman. She was a stigmatist who lived in Bavaria. Here she was reliving the Passion of Christ. But there was a need in the community. There was no hospital. So she went out and got a horse and buggy, and there she was tending to the needs of the ill. And then also she grew a flower garden. I was thinking of our altar. She grew flowers so that the flowers could be put on the altars at the local church. And I was thinking of our altars and all the beautiful flowers we have here every week. It's definitely a job for we would call it, it's the secret divine, how do you say it? Secret agent for Divine Mother. Thank you. I couldn't get those words right. But every week the flowers show up. The altar is beautiful. And we don't know who does it. And we like to call that the secret agent for Divine Mother. But the attitude, how do we serve? And that's also what this reading was alluding to. What is the attitude with which we serve? Sometimes I was thinking that when we serve, are we complaining? Are we angry? Are we irritated? Are we fulfilling what our ego? Are we expressing our ego and where our ego is? Or are Are we expressing that joy? Are we combining? Are we taking what we're feeling in that meditation, in the silence? Are we making that transition? Are we then sharing it with everybody? And again, it is a two-step process, but how do we take that step? How do we remember God's presence? The topic is living in the presence. How do we do that? I was thinking, because our topic is practicality, I like to be practical about it. What's one of the first things we can do? We can ask God to help us. I love the prayer of the man who was praying to God, "Dear God, so far so good. I haven't hurt anybody, I haven't said anything mean, but in a few minutes I'm going to be getting out of bed and I'm going to need a lot more help." Well, the same thing, in a few minutes I'm going to be getting off of my meditation pillow. I'm going to need some help here, God. Can you help me today? Can you help me to remember your presence? Can you help me to remember your eyes? Can you help me to remember what I see, what I feel when I look at your picture? If it's Christ, Buddha, Yogananda, ask for that help. The spiritual path is 50% the grace of God, 25% the grace of the Guru. Let's call on that 75%. And you can probably guess the other 25 is our own effort. But let's pray to God. Let's pray for his help. The second practical, you could say, application would be try and experience God where you can feel him or her more easily. I was remembering the movie, it's an old movie, the Chariots of Fire. And it was about two runners, and there's that famous line or quote from one of the runners, "I run because I feel his joy." Where do you feel his joy? For many years I was a gardener before I moved up to rainy Portland, out in sunny California. I would feel his joy. Not that I don't feel his joy now either, gardening, so don't get me wrong. But when I'm in the garden, I can feel the miracle of life. How is it that these plants can grow? How could this happen? What is it that helps you to remember spirit? Is it out walking in the woods? Is it up being by a lake or by the ocean? Do those things that help you to remember his presence, okay? The third way is something called japa. Japa is repetition of God's name. As you're doing mundane tasks, yesterday I always like to go out for a walk before Sunday service, late in the afternoon, go out and I try and repeat his name. I try and repeat a mantra. A mantra is just words that help you to remember his presence. Love God, love God. What are those mundane tasks that you do? Chopping, did a lot of chopping this week in preparation for our party today. Love God, love God, love God. Where are those things where you can practice that japa? Japa is very powerful. It's a tool that's been used for many, many years. It's another tool, as we would say, in our spiritual tool belt, japa. And then, of course, then the other one, if you want to remember God, if you want to remember his presence, Yogananda would say environment is important than willpower. Environment. Are we putting ourselves in environments that help support that remembrance? What are we doing in our daily lives? What are we doing in our free times? When Friday night comes, what are we doing when Saturday, Sunday, or whenever our days are off? What are we doing? But then even Yogananda would say, take care of the moments. What are we doing in our moments? Where are our thoughts? As I was baking cookies, I found a Christmas channel, and it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or it was something deeper. You know, I could pick, where do I want my thoughts to go? Rudolph was fun for a while, you know, it really was. But then I wanted to go deeper. Where are our thoughts? Environment again, every moment. Where are our thoughts? Where are our thoughts? We're going to be celebrating next Monday. We're going to have an all-day period of worship. It's 8-hour meditation. Yogananda would have what he would call his spiritual Christmas first. He would do that on the 23rd of December. And then on the 24th, he would celebrate. Then he would have the social. There it is, the two-step process, the inner, and then the social, and then the outer, and then the service, okay, and then being together. And so we'll have that on Monday the 23rd. It can sound intimidating. It's periods of meditation interspersed with readings and chanting, and you have an opportunity to get up and stretch and all of that. I encourage you all to come. It's here from 8 to 4. It's a highlight. It truly is a highlight. It helps to prepare. Yogananda talks about preparing ourselves for the coming of that Christ consciousness. It's a wonderful opportunity. We are blessed to be here together, to share this together, feeling for Christ's love, He's there. He's waiting for us to open our hearts, waiting for us to take that next step, waiting for us to sit in the silence, feeling for his presence, and then sharing in the moments. I'd like to end by reading, these are Yogananda's words. It's his Christmas greeting, dated 1937. He writes this to students, friends, and all. Christ comes every year, newly cradled in our freshly awakened devotion. Though Jesus was born long ago, we are happy to find his Christ wisdom born in our joy every year at Christmas. Let us celebrate Christ in a new way this year by remodeling the cradle of our consciousness and by decorating it with the dazzling soul qualities of brotherhood, humbleness, faith, meditative desire, and unselfishness. These are the ornaments which our baby Christ ever loves to play with. We will celebrate his birth by exercising imperishable gifts, by making ourselves and our friends happier, by being better, and by more love of God. With the coming of the omnipresent baby Christ, the cradle of our consciousness will expand and keep developing until it can fully hold him. Let us prepare to clean this cradle, rusty with selfishness, divine indifference, and sense attachments, by polishing it with deep daily divine ecstasy, introspection, and discrimination, that we may celebrate the birth of the newborn babe or Christ's consciousness on this coming Christmas everlastingly and joyously. I wish you all an uplifting Christmas and an enlightening New Year. Let's have a moment of silence.